This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic. What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is February 9th, 2023. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what's up?
Do you smell that, Jonathan? It's trade day. We're gonna get some trades today, Jonathan, and it's in the air. I smell it everywhere. It was beautiful. I saw Philip Rossman-Reich from Orlando Magic Daily, Locked On Magic, doing a Twitter Spaces, popped in there for a little bit. Everybody is clamoring for a trade, and we finally got something today in the league. D'Angelo Russell going to the Lakers, a reunion of sorts, but this one could be a better stint, maybe, than his last one. That was really weird. So we'll see. It's an exciting time to be a Magic fan. We'll see what we do today.
Trade deadline, always spicy, always entertaining. You know, if you follow the NBA, if you're on Twitter, of course, all of the rumors, you're waiting for Shams or Woj or somebody to tweet out confirmation of a trade. You have the D'Angelo Russell, Russell Westbrook to Utah, Mike Conley to Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with all of that, whether or not teams are going to be buying out certain players. The Russell Westbrook thing is hilarious because last night, most of the world, not Luke Sylvia, but most of the world was watching LeBron James break the all-time scoring record. And you're watching the game, and I'm looking at some of these Lakers players like Russell Westbrook. Who else was it? I don't even remember at this point. Yeah, and you're like, guys, do you not understand what the point of tonight is? The point is for LeBron James to break this record. And I think it was in the third quarter. Yeah, it was 10 seconds left in the third quarter last night. LeBron James breaks the all-time scoring record, and now Russell Westbrook is being traded. Pretty crazy to see him in that atmosphere, such a massive game, and now him being traded. So, yeah, D'Angelo Russell back to the Lakers. Hopefully, no Snapchat and snitching goes on in the locker room this go around for him. But we're going to be breaking down the trade deadline for the Orlando Magic, at least leading up to the trade deadline, and what it could or could not mean for the Orlando Magic. If you haven't checked out our Ryan Brock's article up on the sixmanshow.com, where he talked about 3 potential trades that the Magic should or / could make at the trade deadline. A nice little primer for this episode. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Before that, we've got a couple of housekeeping things to go over. First of all, we've got a watch party coming up. We're partnering with the Orlando Magic and Michelob Ultra again, coming up on March 3rd when the Magic take on the Charlotte Hornets. Starting at 6:30 p.m., we'll be at Burton's, which is located at 801 East Washington Street. Again, that's going to be March 3rd, which is a Friday. Be sure to mark your calendars. Make sure you come on out, hang out with us, enjoy some good drinks, some good food, and watch the Orlando Magic get another W. We are 4-1 this year when we partner with the Orlando Magic and Michelob Ultra for these watch parties. So we are very much looking forward to keeping the streak alive. This is a venue that we haven't been to yet, so I'm pretty excited, Luke. It'll be a good time. So again, March 3rd, 6:30, Burton's at 801 East Washington Street. That's going to be our next watch party. And then speaking of parties, we've got a big party this Friday, the Duvin launch party. So if you're unfamiliar with Duvin, they are an apparel company based out of Orlando, and they are collaborating with the Orlando Magic for their latest collection. I am rocking the hat right now, and this polo, stretchy, lightweight, very, very comfortable, very, very stylish. You've got the old school Orlando Magic logos on it. You've got the flamingos, the pineapples. There's some orange on there. This is just a lot of fun. Some of their other pieces I'm really looking forward to being able to wear, and my wife is requesting that I go to this launch party and come home with some apparel for her. So we're going to be at their launch party on Friday, February 10th at the Heavy in Winter Park. located at 1152 Harmon Avenue. That's going to be from 4 o'clock to 10 p.m. I think there's going to be, some Magic representatives there. I think like the 321 Hype Squad is going to be there if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I mean, check out Duvin. You can find them at Duvin Design, I think it is, on Twitter, and at Duvin on Instagram. I might have that backwards, but just search Duvin either on Twitter or on Instagram. You can check that out. They sent us a nice little a press box the other day that I did like an unboxing. You can find that on our Twitter and Instagram if you're just curious as to what is included in this line. It's really, really nice, Luke. I know a lot of people are excited about it. A lot of people are not happy that this is like an in-person collection thing only, that you can't get it online. But I like that. Like the exclusivity of it makes it a little bit more special.
Yeah, I mean, well, and also obviously there's the party on Friday, but I'm pretty sure I saw also their collection will be at Amway on Saturday during that Miami game. I don't know if it'll be for games after that too, but pretty cool, and a little even more incentive to go to the game because I know I'll be looking in that Duvin collection section on Saturday night. So we'll see. I really do enjoy the hat. Is just so sick. I love the hat. I love the incorporation of the trees, the like different colors, the pink on the side, the whatever that is on the front, like aqua, tealish. Just I like that. I like that style a lot, kind of like a neon vibe. I enjoy it, so I'm gonna definitely be looking. So definitely, if you guys are in the area, go on Friday, and if you can't go Friday, like myself, on Saturday, that'll be some stuff available from it for you too.
There is a 1,000, maybe even a 100,000% chance you will catch me on a Florida beach this summer rocking this with some kind of fruity drink in my hand. Guarantee it. You don't have to question whether or not that will happen. That will absolutely happen. This is that kind of shirt. Like if you're looking for a nice like party vibe, like you're chilling, drinking something tropical, this is going to be the go-to shirt for that. Incredibly comfortable, stretchy. You got the little stuff there on the sleeve. I didn't even notice that. I love that. Maybe I'll be rocking this on the golf course this summer. We'll see what happens. I want to get into golf this summer, and I'll be getting my Tiger Woods on in this nice Duvin polo here. So again, make sure you guys come out to the watch party on Friday. I'll be there. I know producer Kevin will be there. That's going to be at the Heavy Winter Park, located at 1152 Harmon Ave, from 4 to 10 p.m. Let's talk some Orlando Magic basketball, Luke. Let's get into the state of the Magic. So far this week, the Magic are 0-1 on the week, bringing them to a record of 22-33. They have the fifth worst record in the league. They are 13th in the Eastern Conference. They are currently 3 games back of Indiana for that final play-in spot. They're also 3 games back of Toronto, who's at 11, and 3 games back of Washington, who is sitting at 12. So the Magic have a couple of teams to jump, or a few teams to jump, if they want to get in that play-in spot. But you still have, let's see, so we're sitting at 55 games. So you've got 27 games left. Plenty of time to make up 3 games, especially if the Magic are able to start stringing some wins together and win games that they should. Tuesday night was a game that they should have won. We'll talk more about that in detail a little bit later. But don't give up on the Magic. We've been talking about this. The Magic are still in striking distance for that final play-in spot. On the season, the Magic have an offensive rating of 111.6, which ranks 25th in the league. They have a defensive rating of 114.5, which ranks 21st in the league. Their overall net rating is negative 2.9, which is 26th in the league. Chuma Okeke, he is still ruled out, but he was recently sent to Lakeland. No idea if he's going to end up playing games with the Lakeland Magic. Kobe Price reported that a couple of days ago, but something to keep an eye on. I don't know if he's just going to be practicing with them, or we're going to see him in some kind of rehab stint like we did with Jonathan Isaac. So make sure you're following Kobe Price. Make sure you're following us on all the social media accounts. We'll be sure to pass that information along. And some fun news this week, Luke. Yesterday, so that was Tuesday. We're recording this Wednesday night. It was the Rising Stars draft in the NBA app. Pau Gasol, Darren Williams, Joakim Noah, each drafting teams from this Rising Stars rookie and sophomore pool. I think there is, I forget who's the other coach that is getting the team of like all the G League and the G League Ignite guys.
Mm-hmm.
But Pau Gasol had the number one pick in the Rising Stars draft and took none other than our Paolo Banchero. So you're like, sick. Paolo got picked first. That's awesome. Let's keep watching the draft to see where Franz gets picked. Very next pick, the second pick, Darren Williams takes Franz Wagner. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm good. First of all, brightest future core in the entire league confirmed. Rising Stars took our guys 1 and 2. There is no argument to be had. Those are the rules. But I watched a little bit further to see what was going on. But it was just awesome to see our guys go 1 and 2. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better than that.
yeah, it doesn't. But can I just say that Darren Williams knows no clue what he's talking about? Just none. Like, hats off to him for making the correct pick in Franz Wagner. But at the same time, he talked about Bones Highland, I think, being part of Denver's future and what they're building there and what they're doing. And it's like, he clearly doesn't know that Bones Highland is in like every trade package imaginable right now going out of Denver. So just that was ridiculous to me and just shows me that TV personalities, that's all they are. And Darren Williams, former player, great player, just even confessed he doesn't have league pass and doesn't watch games, really doesn't know a lot of these young guys. I'm like, what are we doing? But I'm glad he had the foresight to take Franz Wagner. His team is now in good hands by default. So it was cool, man. I'm happy to see it. I'm even more interested to see how those games play out. I thought it was cool, the format they did last year with 4 teams. So should be interesting. I think from what I remember, pretty fast paced, and just kind of like one team in, one team out type of format. And I mean, should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's basically going to be like 4 teams. The 2 teams will face off, and the winners will face off in the final or whatever. And I get the idea. They're bringing in former players to kind of draw up excitement about these games. But why does it have to be former players? Like, why couldn't we have like the 2 captains of like the all-star teams, like LeBron and Giannis? Maybe throw some veterans in there, like a Chris Paul or something like that. Like guys that are actually in tune with this, even if it's like other like content creators. Like I would have loved to see our buddies from like Through the Wire, like Kenny, Pierre, D Mills, Mike. Like I would have loved to see those guys do some kind of draft like this. You can't tell me those guys don't draw an audience, especially the younger crowd. And those guys actually watch games and know what they're talking about. So I just feel like NBA just needs a refresh with stuff like this, because when the guys coaching the team like so obviously don't care about what is going on, like why should we be invested? Why should fans care about this when the guys that you're putting in place to draft from these pools don't really care either? So, but yeah, that was super whack. But again, I just come back to Paolo number 1, Franz number 2. Awesome. Magic, best young core in the league. You can't tell me otherwise. We've got the first and second pick in the Rising Stars game. And I have a feeling that as long as they don't play in the first round, there's a strong chance that it's going to be Paolo's team versus Franz's team in the final, which is going to make me feel a certain type of way. You're going to have to choose between your favorite kids in the Rising Stars final.
Who are you
but it'll be
for?
cool to see those guys.
If it's Franz versus Paolo in the championship, or they just face it all.
I'm rooting for them to go at each other like hardcore. Like don't hold back at all. Like go at each other's necks. That's what I would be rooting for. I don't care about the result. I just want to see those guys be like, okay, all right, you guard me, I guard you, and let's see who's the best. Maybe this will be the game to be like, who's going to be the future alpha of the Orlando Magic? Maybe that takes place in the Rising Stars game. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Hey, do you know if they're doing the skills competition again, or like remember last year they did like the Cavs core of the team of 3. They did the Bucks, all the brothers, right? Or they just did all the brothers, and that whole competition. I wonder if they're doing that again, because I hope that the young guys have the intensity that Giannis and his brothers had in that competition. Do you remember how they were like 120% the entire time? I believe, if I recall correctly, that like they just brought the intensity, and I hope that that's what they do with the Rising Stars Challenge. I hope they're not like too cool. There was also a team like that in that sort of challenge last year. But yeah, I like you said, I hope they go at each other and that they play like they have something to prove, because it's a fun event, and there's still can be things you draw from it, and it should be a good time.
So I've got the schedule here. So they are doing the skills challenge this year. So Friday night is going to start with the Ruffles NBA All-Star Celebrity Game on ESPN. I mean, how far has that event fallen? I was looking at the list of celebrities, and I think I knew like 3 or 4 people.
Is it all TikTokers
total
now?
It's that. I think there's like Calvin Johnson. Like outside of athletes, there might have been like 1 or 2 names on that list that I recognize. And we used to have like Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, like Chris
Biebs.
Brown.
Kevin Hart was doing it for a while. He was like one of the last ones to drop out of it finally, I think.
Yeah, it's just like I really honestly used to look forward to the celebrity games on Friday night to be like, all right, let's see what J. Cole's got. Let's see, what Chris Brown's got. I mean, I know Terrell Owens, he's done it a couple of times, but man, like I might not even watch that at all. And normally that's something that I would be super tuned into. And then so that's at 7 o'clock. And then the Jordan Rising Stars game is going to be Friday night at 9. That's going to be on TNT. And then Saturday, starting at 4 o'clock, is the NBA HBCU Classic. That's going to be on NBA TV, TNT, ESPN2. And then starting at 8 o'clock on TNT is going to be the State Farm All-Star Saturday Night, which will be the Skills Challenge first, the Starry 3-point contest, and then the AT&T Slam Dunk contest. I don't believe any of the contestants have been like totally officially announced just yet. I know we've heard like so-and-so has been invited to, the Slam Dunk contest, but right now I'm on NBA.com and they don't have any of the contestants listed just yet. And like 10 days before, that seems kind of weird that we don't know who's going to be in these things. But the thing that makes me the most angry about this list, and we're going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, is this Starry 3-point contest. Do you know what Starry is, Luke?
Is that a Coke drink?
No. So, like, Sprite is a Coke product, right? Like the lemon lime soda. And for years, for Pepsi, it was Sierra Mist. Well, apparently, I didn't know this, but they discontinued Sierra Mist.
Oh.
And now they've introduced Starry, and it's a lemon lime soda. Starry sucks. Have you had... I'm guessing you haven't had it.
No.
It's complete garbage. Just give up, Pepsi. Nothing is competing with Sprite in the lemon lime soda department. It's over.
Is it?
Devote your resources elsewhere.
So the reason I said Coke is because Coke has a product called Starlight. It's like a variation of Coke.
Oh, Coke Starlight. Yeah.
Yeah. That thing.
Which isn't that bad. Some people hate that. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. My parents had it. Anyway, that's what I thought you were talking about when you said Starry. That's like the first thing I thought of. But is it... How different can you get with the lemon lime? Like, is it just a weak drink, like taste-wise,
It's
flavor-wise?
definitely not Sierra Mist. It's not like they took Sierra Mist and just put a new... Like, They went back to the drawing board, whole new formulation. It just sucks. Like, it just... When I drink it, I'm like, oh, you're trying to be Sprite, but you're not even coming close. Just not good.
Oh, thanks for saving my money. I probably would buy it if I would have seen it or something.
Dude, and let's just talk about... like McDonald's Sprite for a second. Can we give McDonald's Sprite, like all of McDonald's sodas, they put like extra syrup in all of their stuff. Like I stop at McDonald's at 9 a.m. and I get myself like bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle, add the chicken patty to that, and then I get myself a small Sprite.
You know why your
Sprite
wakes
you up.
You know why your Sprite slaps at McDonald's? Do you know why?
Nope.
So I could be, you don't have to listen to me say this, guys, and you don't have to believe me either, but whatever. I listened to a video, it was probably a TikTok, and these guys talking about why the Sprite at McDonald's is so good, and they said something about like the exclusive partnership between Coke and McDonald's. They basically give them like their free reign on how much like sugar and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they add more syrup to
They do. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 100%. But it's because of their partnership,
and
Coke just basically like drops it off. And they can just do whatever they want. And it's like, it's beautiful,
bro. They're back there cranking that John all the way to 10 on the Sprite syrup.
They break the scale,
and I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Just to, again, Paolo and Franz in the Rising Stars Challenge, going to be fun to watch those guys go head to head. But let's talk about the folks that help financially support the show every single week, talking about our special folks at our Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. For $2 a month plus some other tiers, you can have things like hang out with us on our monthly Zoom calls, get access to our Discord community. One of our tiers also has discounted Orlando Magic home tickets. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, again, you can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Another benefit, every episode that we have new patrons, we give them a very special shout out. So this week, this episode is brought to you by Vote for Paolo, who joined our Patreon at our All-Star tier. So a big shout out to Vote for Paolo. Really, really appreciate that. And then every week, not only do we shout out our brand new patrons, we also shout out all of our Hall of Fame tier and all of our elite tier patrons. We'll start with Court Cousins, Armin, Carson Tulo, Jonathan Borges, Normal, Magic Player History, Julio, Gabe Gaines, Wiffle, Michael Martin, Michael Salapong, The Distract, Mo Bamba, Yo Mama. It's not okay to say Okiki. Like, put the phonetics there for me this time so I didn't mess that up. Big shout out. Appreciate you. Pierre A, Migzors, Nostalgia and M&M's, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Lil Penny, Eduardo Sanchez, Drum, Danimal, Dutto 15, Bobby Skinner, Goody 93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Juan Geraldo, Bill Fulton, Edmund Lagone, Jose Esquilin, Destined for Greatness, Caleb Pete, Cannibalism, Ty Mr. TB, Joe Rothfuss, ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95 Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Rican, Shahin 177, Bulby the Don, Himlo Ban Himro, RM Prov 221, Ray Pastrana, Magic Kid 714, Let's Spank Don't Tank, Soft Taco, Jesse, Barry M, Johnny B, Fuego Nando. Thank you to our Elite Hall of Fame tier patrons and all of our patrons. You can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Luke, Tuesday night, the New York Knicks came into town to take on our Orlando Magic. And for the first 3 quarters of this game, Luke, I was feeling really good about this game. The Magic, really good, solid defensive effort through the first 3 quarters, holding the Knicks to 45% shooting in the first quarter, 36% shooting in the second quarter, 40.9% in the third quarter, and then allow the Knicks to shoot 63% from the floor, 50% from the three-point line, 36 points in that fourth quarter, Luke. To me, that was the difference in this game. Magic did not shoot the ball particularly well from deep, but that was a theme throughout the game. And throughout the first 3 quarters, again, the Magic were really in control of this game, but just poor defense, especially, let's call it what it is. Jalen Brunson was going at Markelle Fultz in that fourth quarter. 10 fourth quarter points for Jalen Brunson. A lot of those I know were free throws at the end of the game, but hit clutch baskets to really keep that game close in the fourth quarter. And the Knicks just made more plays than the Magic did down the stretch. With about 33 seconds to go, Jamal Mosley called this after timeout. This veer action, if you follow Fazan Amer on Twitter, he's one of our writers. He had this awesome breakdown of kind of going through that play where it's Markelle Fultz with the ball. Wendell Carter sets a ball screen on him, sets an off-ball screen on Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner kind of comes around, and the idea is for him to be pretty open to get a 3 from that right wing. And Wendell Carter didn't make great contact on that screen. Franz Wagner doesn't have a great look, but forces it anyway. Just felt like he could have, brought the ball out, kind of reset the offense and got into another action there. But he pulls the trigger anyways, misses. That was really the end of the game, in my opinion, Luke. I believe you're down 3 at that point. And then Knicks, you have no choice but to foul, and to their credit, hit their free throws down the stretch. Magic made a couple of baskets to try to make it as close as they could, but just could never get all the way back. And you lose this game, and at the end of this game, you have those New York Knicks fans chanting "Let's go Knicks" in Amway, and you could hear it on the television broadcast. I know it is incredibly excruciatingly painful in person. Kevin and I experienced that last year at the Magic's home opener. And this just sucks because you had a big opportunity to close the gap in terms of the play-in. Had a chance to I believe you would have been down 2 games. At one point, it had you won this game. and now you're sitting at 3 games back. So
Yeah.
unfortunate, but the fourth quarter was really the story in this, Luke. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was just that Franz shot was super frustrating. I think that was, um, whatever that was, like 30 some seconds left in the game, and he shoots it. And those of you who are like me, and I believe like Jonathan, where you have to stand when times get tense in a game, I'm standing, I'm pacing, I'm doing all of the things, and Franz Wagner shoots the three, and I just immediately sit down. Like I sit down as soon as he shoots it. It's not that I necessarily knew he was going to miss, but I just didn't like the shot, and then I just stayed sitting for the rest of the game. I was like, man, that was it. And it felt like they were, obviously it was an action that they used to get Franz a three, but in hindsight is 2020, but at the same time, like I don't know that the 2-for-1 was that important as well. That's what it felt like, right? There's like 30 some seconds left. You're just trying to get the ball off and get that 2-for-1 opportunity, and it backfires, right? Because then the last, whatever it is, 20 seconds, 25 seconds, you're just playing the fouling game where they're up three. They're not going to let you get any shot off. And it was unfortunate, man. I would have rather tried to get Franz the ball to drive or Markel the ball, because Markel had been cooking. And we know that. Like him and Jalen Brunson were just trading buckets there in the fourth quarter. So just unfortunate in a game where I felt like Markel could get to his spot, whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And to see it kind of just unfold like that was frustrating, man. And your first half was picture perfect. Your first half was awesome. Then in the third quarter, the second quarter was fine that you only scored 22 points because you only let up 18. But then it gets to the point where the third quarter rolls around and they, have 26, you have 21, and then you need to finish strong and close the game out, and you're just not able to do it. The other thing that was kind of frustrating is Paolo has 4 points and it's like 1 for 6 in the first half. And it's like, while we had the lead, you could have had a larger lead had Paolo been hitting his shots, because he goes on frustratingly, honestly, to shoot 5 of 7 and score 12 in that second half after scoring that just 4 on 1 of 6 shooting in the first. So just, growing pains, but I think it's a good lesson. Markel talked about that after the game, that, it was a good learning lesson for them, a good situation to be in, and that he was happy with the effort the team gave. But frankly, defensively, fourth quarter, 36 points, giving that up, doesn't matter what quarter it's in, you're putting yourself way behind an opportunity to win the game. Like I said, you played well enough in that first half to win this game. And even the third quarter, there's a debate. I mean, but that fourth quarter, the wheels cannot come off. And they came off. That they were playing a Knicks team that was very frustrated. They have had trouble closing games out this year, and they did what they needed to.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm trying to pull up the first half stats here. I don't know if you have them, but NBA.com really just decided it doesn't want to load on me here, like whatsoever. I'm trying to look at like the starters and the bench units, plus minus in the first half, because
I can find it.
Lately it has felt like the starters are the lineup or the unit that is struggling. And then it's been our second unit, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, Mo Wagner, Jonathan Isaac, that has really got things moving. Like if the Magic have the lead, the second unit comes in and they extend the lead, and the first unit comes in and then they kind of squander the lead away, and all of a sudden now we're playing in a close game, or first unit isn't playing that well, they're down. The second unit comes into the game and gets you back into the game. And Mo Wagner, I think it was 11 points in that fourth quarter, just shooting the ball really, really well in this game. Just if I tweeted this out, it feels like if we can get the first unit, the starters, and the bench unit all in rhythm in the same game, like we're going to blow a team out by 25, 30 points.
Yeah.
It's just been, for the last week and a half now, it's been the second unit that has really been carrying the load.
Yeah.
Most of the season leading up to that point, it's been the first unit, and everybody's just got to get on the same page, and life would be much, much better.
Yeah, and so I found it on Orlando Magic PR as far as the plus minus for that second quarter, Um, yeah, I mean your sentiment and your thought is correct. The starters were, Franz was a +1, but then you had everybody else going down the list. Paolo -2, Wendell -1, Fultz -3, Gary Harris -2. But Cole Anthony, most impressive in that second quarter, is a +10, and he played the most out of everybody in that on the roster. Played 10.5 minutes in that second quarter. So yeah, I mean it's like you said, the bench is the problem. Has been the problem, or the starters have been the problem as of late. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I think you tweeted something out last night. Like, it's going to be nice when both those units are in a rhythm, and you just have to find out what that is and what that takes, because it seems like they're not on the same schedule.
And again, just really NBA.com just selling the bag here. So I'm pulling up the box score on ESPN. Markelle Fultz, you talked about him. Great game, 21 points, 9 of 12 from the floor, 3 of 3 from the free throw line, added 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Mo Wagner, 13 points, I believe 11 of those came in the fourth quarter. Franz Wagner, 18 points, 7 of 12 from the floor. And then Paolo, 16 points, 6 of 15, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. 4 of 8 from the free throw line. I mean, Paolo, makes his free throws. This is essentially a tie game and maybe going into overtime. I know he's been struggling. Him, Franz Wagner, both kind of struggling offensively and from the free throw line as of late. You get to the free throw line, especially when you're not shooting the ball well from the floor, you have to take the most, make the most of those opportunities and capitalize on that. It felt like about a month ago, Paolo was hitting the rookie wall, and then all of a sudden he has a few like great performances. You're like, okay, we're kind of past that. But now it kind of seems like he's slumping again. The last couple of games here. And All-Star break coming up in just over a week here. It feels like the Magic really need that. I know we're healthy, but it feels like these guys just need a little bit of a breather. Especially Franz, Paolo, they've been carrying such a heavy load all season long. Give them a little bit of a break, come back re-energized. And I know we've talked about this, and I don't think you can bank on it just because of the fact that it happened last year. But the Magic, I believe, were 7th in the league in defensive rating post All-Star break last year. We need to see a similar result this year if this team is going to be serious about the play-in again. So far, through the first 55 games, the Magic are 21st in the league in defensive rating. I know over the course of the last 15, 20 games, they're trending towards the top half of the league, getting close to the top 10. But with the personnel that this team has, healthy Jonathan Isaac, healthy Jalen Suggs, Wendell Carter Jr., Franz Wagner, Markelle Fultz, this is a team that should be a top 10 defensive rating team in their sleep. So just going to continue to monitor Paolo. Obviously, he's going to snap out of it at some point, but we're not seeing him be quite as efficient as he was to start the season. You're kind of seeing that efficiency begin to dip a bit. Anything else from this Knicks game, Luke?
No, man. I mean, just a frustrating all around loss to dominate the first half. Essentially, feel like the game's in control, and then you get down to that final quarter, and the wheels just sort of fall off. Jalen Brunson has, puts on his takeover badge, and it's over. The kid is nuts. Quite frankly, it's frustrating, but it is what it is, and you move on and you try to get some wins here, string some together before the All-Star break.
So no win in this one, folks, but do not forget that each day after Orlando Magic victories, you can get 50% off your online order from Papa John's with code MAGICWIN. And if you're not in Orlando, don't fret. As long as you are within 150 miles of Orlando, you can take advantage of this code. As long as you are also 75 miles or further than 75 miles from Miami. So again, 50% off Papa John's each day after Orlando Magic victories with code MAGICWIN. Luke, the day that we release this episode, we talked about this at the top of the show, is the trade deadline. So Thursday, I believe it's 3 o'clock Eastern, if I'm not mistaken, is the NBA trade deadline. So we had the big deal today, the three-teamer, the Lakers, the Jazz, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Russell Westbrook, Mike Conley, D'Angelo Russell, all kind of shifting teams. Lakers also sending out, I believe it was a first-round pick in that. But people have been kind of walking on eggshells lately. It seems like each Instagram story or Twitter post from a Magic player's best friend is sending Magic fans like really, really crazy. Markelle Fultz posts a cryptic Instagram story and has a couple of retweets on Twitter. Everybody thinks he's being traded. Cole Anthony's best friend tweets out business of basketball on Tuesday, and everybody thinks Cole Anthony is being traded. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute, my bad. That looks real bad. I didn't mean anything like that. It had nothing to do with Orlando. And then we've heard, for a couple of weeks now, every time that Fred VanVleet's name is brought up, whether it's who might be a suitor for him in free agency this summer, or who may be willing to trade for Fred VanVleet if Toronto decides to move on from him, the Magic have been included in each one of those reports. So I want to go through some of these rumors here and then mention at the beginning of the show our Ryan Brock's article talking about 3 potential trades that the Magic should make at the deadline. We'll go through that as well. But just wanted to pull up the good old hoops hype here and go through some of the Orlando Magic rumors, and just more specifically. So our buddy Jake Fisher, he reported that the Celtics are exploring trading Danilo Gallinari and Peyton Pritchard to land a center. His report says Boston has been exploring the combined outgoing value of Danilo Gallinari and Peyton Pritchard, sources said, as the Celtics search for center reinforcements. 2 names of big men that match that outgoing salary, Jakob Pertl and Mo Bamba. So this is just as speculation gets. This is literally just throwing 2 names in the trade machine and finding a center whose salary matches up with both of those guys, and a trade, I guess, that would theoretically make sense. Luke, I'm not even calling this a rumor. This is just, if we're doing is this anything, this is not anything to me. This is a buzzer, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, it's pure speculation, and it's not anything that really should get Magic fans too excited anyway. For the sole fact that as far as Gallinari goes, I mean, he's not going to be something that sticks with this roster anyway. As much as I would like a
rehabbing
shooter,
a torn ACL, by the way.
Yeah, rehabbing a torn ACL and wouldn't be available till next year at some point. Not really something that I'm targeting. Not to mention that I believe after next season anyway, he's going to be a free agent. I was looking at his contract earlier, I think, and I'm not sure where it's at now. Where I can't pull it up right now because my internet's being ridiculous. But I'm pretty sure that's the case. Peyton Pritchard, I'm good. It's like his 3rd year in the league, and he's 25, and he's a guard. Like he's a point guard. He's 6'1". I just don't see a need for Peyton Pritchard. So I don't know. I'd rather them just give us like cash, if I'm being honest. I don't feel like having to sort out what we're gonna do with Gallinari with his bad ACL and Peyton Pritchard trying to figure it out. So I'm good. I'm good on that. I hope that's not true. Like I said, I'll take cash and some picks, but I don't want any players of that caliber and on those contracts either.
Yeah, Gallinari, Pritchard stuff doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. Peyton Pritchard is maybe a little bit of an upgrade over RJ Hampton, and I don't even think if RJ, it's a completely different conversation, but RJ wasn't good enough to prove that he was going to be in this rotation and prove that he was going to be extended. I don't know why the Magic, outside of cash, doesn't even make a lot of sense to me. It would have to be like draft compensation to take on those deals, because I don't see either of those guys playing for the Magic, especially not Gallinari. So that was one that came up that I thought we should just really dismiss pretty quickly here. And then the other part of this, Fred VanVleet, the likeliest Raptor to be traded. Clippers, Suns, Lakers, Magic, and Timberwolves interested. This is from Jake Fisher again. Says the Lakers, Magic, Timberwolves have also registered interest in Van Vliet. Van Vliet is expected to decline his $22 million option for the 23-24 season in search of a pay raise that approaches a maximum salary and certainly north of $30 million. So Fred Van Vliet, a semi-aging, small, injury-prone guard who in his career has been a great three-point shooter, has not been a great three-point shooter this year, Luke. If you make a trade for Fred Van Vliet, you're handing him the starting point guard job. And right now, I am 100% sticking with Markelle Fultz in that regard.
Yeah, Fred Van Vliet is just like Mr. Inefficient. I just don't. He's 28. I mean, what does the contract look like with him? I,
Like if Jake Fisher is reporting that he's most likely going to decline his player option for next season, which is $22 million dollars, and he's going to be looking for a max deal north of $30 million a year. And $30 million right now is a lot of money. With the next collective bargaining agreement, it might not be $30 million in the next CBA, maybe this year's $20 million. So that number may not be as crazy as it sounds right now. But even still, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense for this team, the timeline of this team.
I don't think Fred would.
I don't think
it
matches
either.
kind of like the archetype of what this team is trying to build. I just don't think it makes a ton of sense for the Magic, and especially for what the Raptors probably want for Van Vliet. I don't know if Ujiri just wants to blow everything up in Toronto, but I'm guessing they're going to want semi decent assets back. And what assets do the Magic really have that I would be willing to part with? I mean, you'd have to trade Markelle Fultz. I just don't think it makes a ton of sense to trade for Van Vliet and still have Markelle on this team. I don't think you're going to be starting Markelle Fultz next to Fred Van Vliet. Just really not a big fan of the deal of any deal that we would have to make to bring Van Vliet in.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think it makes sense for him. Like he's going to have a player option coming up. Like you said, like I don't know. I listen. The more
and then
that
you have to be confident that he would re-sign here.
So yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing is that the more that I talk about potential trades for the Magic, the more I'm like, no, I'm pretty set on not doing anything wild here. Like I'm cool with not making moves. And this is a thing that we've said in the past is like sometimes the best move is not making any. And by this, I would mean like big moves in this regard. In the past, I've said it and meant like I don't want us doing literally anything. But when it comes to like free agency, things like that. But you look around and I think that feasible guys that I'm cool with being traded tomorrow or today, as you guys are listening to this, is the obvious. Mo Bamba, Gary Harris, Terrence, or not Gary Harris. Oh my goodness. Please,
Jeez,
no.
I was
no,
like, man,
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
The tables have turned.
RJ, Mo Bamba, and Terrence Ross is what I meant. I'm so sorry, Gary. I did not mean it. Almost 50, 40, 90, by the way, for Gary Harris. Anyway. So yeah, I don't really want anything crazy to happen. I'm cool. We just got healthy. We just are experiencing continuity. Let's just ride it out. What are we in that big of a rush for anyway?
Well, let's see what Ryan Brock has to say. So one of our writers, Ryan Brock, put up an article today on the sixmanshow.com where you can go ahead and check this out and read the article yourself. But the title of this is 3 potential trades the Magic should make at the deadline. Let's just go through number 1 here. Trade number 1, the Orlando Magic receive Isaiah Hartenstein, Miles McBride. The Knicks would receive Mo Bamba, RJ Hampton, and a 2023 second-round pick. Obviously, RJ Hampton, Mo Bamba, those are 2 guys that have fallen out of the Magic's rotation. Isaiah Hartenstein, a guy that the Magic were rumored to be interested in a free agency this last summer. He went to the Knicks, but just seems to be really under and incorrectly utilized so far by Tom Thibodeau. And then Miles McBride, just a guard to help the contracts and the money match, Luke. What do you think about that? Essentially, Mo Bamba, RJ Hampton, and this year's second round pick for Isaiah Hartenstein.
Listen, this past summer, I, you and I believe you also were pretty on board if that was going to be a signing that we were going to make. We had kind of talked ourselves into, and I still like him. I hope the Magic front office still likes him. I wouldn't mind it, but then you kind of get into, I guess Mo Wagner just kind of falls out. Do you play Mo Wagner at the 4 spot? But everything, I don't know. It just feels like Mo Wagner falls out. And I love the electricity that Mo Wagner brings. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place here because I do like Hartenstein. It's just a matter of, do I like him enough to kick Mo Wagner out of the rotation? Do you, I guess I can turn it on you, but what do you think as far as is that right in that sentiment of, if we bring in Hartenstein, we're probably kicking Mo Wagner out of rotation?
Well, I don't know. Once Jonathan Isaac gets off of the minutes restriction, I think there's a good possibility that he becomes like your de facto, backup five, at least for the rest of the season here. So I think that's going to eat up a lot of Mo Wagner's, minutes in general. But I also just think Isaiah Hartenstein was crazy efficient last year. 62% from the floor. Can't really look at the 3-point percentage because he doesn't even shoot, really an attempt a game. Had the rebounding and some assist numbers. I know the per 36 stuff was really sexy with him. It just seems to, again, being underutilized or incorrectly utilized by Tom Thibodeau. My fear, and obviously our front office knows much better than I do, but my fear is maybe that last year was just a little bit of fool's gold, a little contract year magic for Isaiah Hartenstein. But again, Mo Bamba, RJ Hampton, two guys that aren't really in your rotation, don't really seem to be part of the future anyways. So it kind of feels like you're not giving up much to get Isaiah Hartenstein. But at the same time, I love me some Mo Wagner. Like, he's hitting threes last night, telling the bench like I'm a bad MFer. And I'm like, yes, you are. As a matter of fact, yes, you are a bad MFer. Let's roll. I just love the energy that he brings. I would hate to see him just kind of bounce from the rotation because, again, great locker room guy. We've talked about this before, how it's one thing to be a great locker room guy, but it just hits a little bit different when you're on the floor and you can really speak into these guys psyche. When he's in these games and he's telling these guys, during these huddles or, at halftime, all we need to do is believe and keep fighting, and we're going to find a way to win this game. I love that about Mo Wagner. So it would make me sad if we made some kind of deal that just bumps him out of the rotation. I feel like for the long-term prospects of the Magic, that needs to happen at some point anyway. I don't think you're going to be a contender with Mo Wagner, really playing regular rotation minutes. We've talked about this. Too small to be a 5, not really quick enough to be a 4. Just kind of this combo big, and that creates problems sometimes. But I like him a lot. I like Hartenstein. I think it would be, he's not on a crazy contract. When the Knicks signed him, we were like, that's it. How did the Magic, weren't able to sign him? I think it was $8 million a year. Mm-hmm. If I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong on that.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at all. Let's talk about this next trade here. This is the one that I think I am a bigger fan of because I think it addresses a need that the Magic are desperate for. Trade 2, the Orlando Magic receive Joe Harris and a future second-round pick in return for Terrence Ross and Mo Bamba. Again, two guys that really are not in the future of this team and the future plans for the Magic. And you get back Joe Harris, 40% three-point shooter, been really consistent over the last few years. The Magic are in desperate need of shooting. Last night, 24% from the three-point line. If you shoot 32% from the three-point line in this game, you win the game. Mm-hmm. So he was an Orlando Magic once upon a time in that Channing Frye trade, and then Rob Hennigan decided to waive Joe Harris. So it would kind of make things full circle. I would love to see a guy, it doesn't have to be Joe Harris, but a guy that can just come in, um, and a guy that can score off of movement. Terrence Ross was that guy once upon a time, and it has not been that the last couple of years for the Magic. The Magic desperately need a guy who you can put in sets and put in motion and get open threes for them to be able to knock down. And that is Joe Harris. I think he would be an awesome addition. Again, be like a guy that you're getting for practically nothing because Terrence has been playing lately. We know Mo right now he's suspended, but before that has been mostly out of the lineup. What do you think?
I I would love Joe Harris, and this kind of goes to put these back to back in terms of the trade proposals that Ryan Brock has put together. While I don't mind the trade for Hardenstein, I don't really see this year at least a need for us to get Mo Wagner out of rotation. Like I think we're fine. Like you said, JI can play more of that spot as well once he's off this minutes restriction. I just see the much bigger need is a 3-point shooter. You need a guy that can come in and just chuck him up. And I'm not talking about Cole Anthony. I mean a guy like Joe Harris who's going to efficiently give you almost 5 threes a game. And the Magic right now, Jonathan, to kind of bring light to that, are 26th in the league in 3-point attempts a game at about 30. Top team in the league is Golden State. Shocker, they shoot 43. Boston shoots 42. Dallas 40. I know that the Magic are doing this because they're being self-aware that they don't have shooters. It is not their thing right now. But alongside you've got Gary Harris, and Gary's issue right now is that maybe he's not getting the volume that some people would like. You bring in a guy like Joe Harris who can come into the starting lineup if needed, and he's going to shoot when he gets the ball. And he's not going to hesitate, not going to worry about making a wrong play. I would love to see the Magic go from like 26th in the league in 3-point attempts to 15 and just increasing by like 3 more attempts a game. And I think you bring in a guy like Joe Harris, you're able to do it. He's got 1 year left after this one. I think that it's fine. It's good. It's a veteran. He's 31. And then he's an unrestricted free agent. You make a nice enough impact on a guy like Joe Harris, who you say, hey, you can be the spotlight 3-point shooter on this team, and you got the green light whenever you want it. And he sees that this team can win games. They're young. They're promising. I think you could sign Joe Harris to a deal after next season for something that's pretty friendly because at that point he'll be 32, 33 years old. You get one more little run out of Joe Harris, and that by that time you're reloading with another maybe veteran shooter. I mean, I don't mind Joe Harris at all. I like Joe Harris a lot, and I definitely don't mind giving away T. Ross, who's full of DMPs, and Mo Bamba, who is easily out of this rotation.
Yeah, the Joe Harris contract, $18 million this year, almost $20 million next year, and then you mentioned unrestricted free agent, 31. I didn't realize, man, Joe Harris, you're getting kind of old, my boy. I didn't realize he was that old, but still a very capable shooter. I think an underrated aspect of this trade deadline is that it's going to tell us what the Magic think of this year's free agency class and how willing they are to make a splash and spend money this summer. If they make a trade for a Joe Harris, because the guys we're talking about in this trade specifically, Terrence Ross expiring, Mo Bamba, you can opt out of his contract, and not pick up the team option, at the end of this year, clearing up cap space going into the summer. Gary Harris, same thing. Not that we want Gary Harris to be traded, but if the Magic were to make a deal, trade Gary Harris and bring back, multiple years of contracts and kind of kick the money down the road, so to speak, kick the can down the road, that tells me that they don't feel like maybe they're ready to be big players in free agency, or maybe they don't love this upcoming free agency class. This next trade kind of goes into this thinking as well, where it would be the Magic get Luke Kennard, from the Clippers for Mo Bamba, Chuma Okeke, a 2023 and a 2024 second round pick. Again, bringing in shooting that we desperately need. Mo Bamba not in the rotation. I don't know that I'm as big of a fan of this trade. I know people are ready to give up on Chuma Okeke. I don't know that I'm totally ready to do that. But Luke Kennard this year making just under 14. Next year he's making $14.7 million. And then in 2024, 2025, he's got a $14.7 million team option. Where if you wanted, again, to open up cap space, you'd have the ability to decline that. So if the Magic were to make a trade for a Joe Harris or for a Luke Kennard, in lieu of hanging on to these guys and being able to open up cap space this summer, that kind of tells me how they're feeling about free agency, that maybe they're not going to be super aggressive. And I don't know if this was ever going to be the summer. Like if you just look at the list of NBA free agents, and we've talked about how in recent years in the current era of player movement, that most of those transitions from one team to another happen through trades more so than free agency these days. But some of the top free agents that I think the Magic might consider, a guy like Chris Middleton, D'Angelo Russell is in there, Fred VanVleet, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Grant, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Karis LeVert, Gary Trent Jr., Malik Beasley. Those are some of the guys in the tier that I think that the Magic may target if they were looking to maybe not make a major splash, but just some minor positional upgrades. But that's not a player that's going to you're going to bring them in and all of a sudden now you're a contender. Like when you talk about a team making a big splash in free agency, like you're going out and you're getting a big fish that you can put next to Paolo Banchero, you can put next to Franz Wagner, and now you can say, let's go compete, in the East. Let's try to make an Eastern Conference Finals run or something like that. I feel like if you're looking at this team, they feel like at least 2 to 3 years away from like really being contenders. When you look at Paolo, you look at Franz, and some of the other ancillary pieces, you're like, some things, most of this roster is going to change over the course of the next couple of years. And at that point, when you have the ability to optimize Paolo, optimize Franz, you put shooters around them, other, good defenders around them, that's when this team is going to be ready to rock and roll, in my opinion. So, again, I don't love the Luke Kennard deal just because I'm not ready to give up on Chuma Okeke all the way. But Luke, what do you think about that trade? And then what do you think of my theory that this trade deadline is going to tell us kind of what we need to know about free agency this summer?
Yeah, I don't hate the Luke Kennard deal at all. I'm cool with parting with Chuma. I've not been shy about that in the past, talking about him 37% from the field in just 22 minutes, 18 games this year, 5 points a game. Like there's just not much to Chuma that I am really like longing for at this point. You've got good defenders on this team. You don't necessarily need a Chuma to step in that place. And offensively, Chuma tends to give me headaches. So when it comes to his efficiencies, I don't mind giving him up in a deal. If it is for a guy, I will do dirty things for a shooter right now, Jonathan. I am so sick of watching this team not shoot threes, and even when they do, suck at shooting threes. It's just not a good combination. And I will do anything for a 3-point shooter right now. And Luke Kennard also can fit that bill at his almost 45% on 4 attempts a game and in 20 minutes. You bump him up to 24, 25 minutes a game, you get another 3 out of him. He maybe goes down to 42% 3-point shooting instead of 44.5. I'm okay with Luke Kennard, in that respect. And I like that he's got a club option. I like that when it comes down to it, we get to make the decision on what to do with him. And so, yeah, I'm on board with it. I thought this was really a well put together article by Ryan Brock as well. Just want to give him another shout out. I like the realistic approach, because you could sit here all day and talk about these dream trade targets that you have. But at the end of the day, those trade targets, like it's got to be realistic. And those pieces, those big fish have to actually want to come here, especially in today's NBA. They are not going unless they actually want to go. So, yeah, man, I think great job by Ryan. 3 realistic trades to really think about, and they all address things that you want. And 2 of them in particular addressing the 3-point shooting need that the Magic just absolutely need so badly, whether that's this trade deadline or in the offseason. And to your point, Jonathan, that's probably the case, right? Like this is indicative of what they think about this free agency class. Are you going to tie up your money an extra year, or are you just going to hold on and move on from an easy contract like Mo Bamba come summertime and just essentially just for whatever it is, whether it's picks or whatever, when people are more willing maybe to part with those? We'll see what happens, but I'm excited for today, for trade deadline day. There's nothing like it. Maybe some stuff happens when we're sleeping. That's always a lot of fun. You wake up and that's the first thing you see, and you're either elated or you're pissed. So it's great. It's really a really healthy thing there. I hope that our front office does not do that tonight.
As long as it's not anywhere near as exciting as the 2021 trade deadline where we blew up the whole team, I'll be pretty good. And I know people are worried about, the Magic. What if they trade for Fred VanVleet, and people just sit here and they worry. Like a couple of years ago, it was Russell Westbrook that was allegedly available, and everyone's like, no, please don't let us trade for Russell Westbrook. And you're just like worried about this thing that is most likely never going to happen. And I tweeted this a couple of days ago. Have John and Jeff been perfect in their tenure here? No, I think they've gotten it probably like 85, 90% right since they've been here. But have they given us like any major red flags? Like anything like, wow, I cannot believe you screwed that up? Not yet. And until that happens, I'm not going to get super excited about what possibly could happen. I just don't see them making a move that I feel like would be a mistake in like a Fred VanVleet, for example. So if you're worried about that kind of stuff, just think back and be like, Luke, you've said this a ton. Have they burned us yet? Not really. So until they do, let's just chill. Now, draft night, they end up trading, Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis for Serge Ibaka. We can have a different conversation. But until that happens, everybody just chill, relax. Like they've done right by us so far for the most part. Even when we thought that they didn't. I hated the Vooch deal. I thought it was ridiculous that we had to add protections to the 2021 Bulls pick. I thought it was crazy. Mm-hmm. It worked out in our favor. They knew what they were doing.
Hey, real quick. Turns out, and I just read this real quick. Speaking of the Bulls and the fact that we very obviously have their pick top 4 protected this coming offseason, them and the Clippers have been linked to Russell Westbrook and interest if the buyout were to happen, which is expected. Could you imagine the Bulls pick up Russell Westbrook? At that point, I think that like we get genuinely concerned about that pick not conveying to us come the offseason. That could go horribly.
You think Russell Westbrook just submarines the Bulls season? Like as their sixth man?
He's just been submarining everything. Did you see him? But you saw him last night. I saw him for a little bit in that game, in the Lakers game. That dude looked like he was selling the whole game. I think that he does some weird things with that chemistry. Like the Bulls, they're already like they're just getting out of like the 10 spot. The last thing you need to do is bring in Russ, unless you're just gonna bring him in and tank away. I don't know. I'm very interested to see what happens with Russell Westbrook. I got distracted, but I would be shocked if the Bulls actually pull the trigger on Russell.
I would be shocked if Russell Westbrook pulls the trigger on the Chicago Bulls. At this instance in your career, you're already living in LA. You want to compete for a title. Like the West is wide open. If you're looking at the Clippers, with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, let's see, The Clippers right now are 4th in the Western Conference. They are 3.5 games back of the 2 seed. I mean, they very well could end up. You add Russell Westbrook. I would be shocked if he were to pick the Bulls over the Los Angeles Clippers. Yeah, we just need that pick. Even if he went to the Bulls, I think it would honestly make it more likely that pick would convey to us. Russell Westbrook goes to the Bulls. My play-in hopes would take a significant hit, I think. All of a sudden, then you're like you're just hoping for the 10 seed, because I don't think I think the 9th seed at that point would probably be out of reach. Then you're going to be fighting with like Indiana, Toronto, and Washington for that 10 seed. So interesting. Yeah. We could sit here and talk about hypotheticals for the next hour. We've already gone a little bit over an hour here. Tomorrow's going to be super exciting. Like you said, we could wake up to major NBA news, as is the nature of the NBA. So make sure that you guys stay tuned for the rest of this week. So Thursday, after the trade deadline, the Magic are taking on the Denver Nuggets at home, a rematch of a couple of weeks ago where Nikola Jokic hit that 3 in Franz Wagner's face to dash our hopes of going 3-2 on our West Coast road trip. And then on Saturday, the Magic will be taking on the Miami Heat at home. Luke, before we go ahead and sign off, anything else you got here?
No, let's see what our boys cook up on deadline day. I'm excited for it. We'll see.
Let's see it. All right, folks, again, mark your calendar for our next watch party coming up on Friday, March 3rd. At 6:30, we're going to be at Burton's, 801 East Washington Street, to watch the Magic take on the Charlotte Hornets. And then coming up this Friday, February 10th, from 4 to 10 p.m. At 1152 Harmon Avenue, we're going to be at Duvin's launch party. They're launching their collaboration with the Orlando Magic. We're going to be at the Heavy in Winter Park. Again, that's 1152 Harmon Avenue from 4 to 10. We'll be there for a little bit, so make sure you come by, say what's up, and grab some Duvin Orlando Magic gear. Really, really nice stuff. I'm going to be wearing my stuff. Pretty excited about it. But that is going to do it for us for this episode, this trade deadline special, I guess, if you will. For Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You guys are listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!